Welcome to Intelligent Artifice, the podcast that helps you become a 10x performance marketer. Intelligent Artifice explores the cutting edge of the intersection of AI, creatives, and performance marketing. Every week, we deconstruct the ad systems behind high-performing advertisers using our in-house semantic analysis system, BruteForce.ai, or we sit down with top operators redefining how advertising gets done in a generative AI world. Whether you're scaling user acquisition, leading a creative team, or building a creative engine with AI, this podcast is your unfair advantage. Intelligent Artifice is hosted by me, Shaman Rao, the founder and CEO of the boutique growth marketing agency, Rocketship HQ. You can find out more about us at rocketshiphq.com. Our services are ideal for advertisers spending over $50,000 a month on paid social. Check out the podcast website, intelligentartifice.net, or our newsletter, intelligentartifice.kit.com. In the 2024 US presidential election, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris spent a combined $80 million on Meta ads in just 3 months. Now that the election is behind us, we can zoom out and ask, what can marketers learn from two of the highest spending political campaigns in history? In today's deep dive, I break down their spending behavior, their messaging strategies, video and headline frameworks that they've used, what they did well, and what they could have done better. If you look at their spend estimates, according to Meta, Kamala spent 5x more than Donald Trump on Meta. That alone sets expectations for polish, depth, frequency, and strategy. But when you dig into their creative approaches, it becomes clear that they have played two very different strategic games. Let's get into this. If you look at the headlines, Kamala's headlines are geo-targeted, talks about New Hampshire, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and so on and so forth. A lot of these ads are donation-driven. If you contrast these with Trump's headlines, you can see they are more aggressive, more minimalist. They're also very focused on voting. Find your polling place, vote today, make a plan to vote. And there's also quite a few attack ads like "Don't let Kamala threaten your future," "We can't let this happen." And certainly you can see that everything is in all caps as well. And the contrast here is stark in terms of the tone that both of them use. Kamala used softer, value-led tone, and Trump used much more sharp, rallying imperative. If you look at the CTAs, you can see here Kamala's ads were very focused on donations, and they are much softer asks. Donate to get Kamala's recipe, or can I give you a call? And by contrast, Donald Trump's ads were much more focused on going out to vote. Go vote on November 5th, return, make a plan to vote. A lot of these were framed as a moral obligation, a civic obligation, and there's not nearly as much focus on donation here. So you can see the primary focus of Trump's ads was to get people to the polls, and his CTA design supported that relentlessly here with bold typography and minimal distraction from the CTA itself. Now, what were the big messaging angles they focused on? What were the stories that both candidates told? Kamala's messaging focused on rallying and motivational videos. Like, we are the generation that shows up, and it's time for us to go vote for the wonderfully educated, beautifully qualified Kamala. There were a lot of rights and policies focused videos, like ads focused on healthcare, reproductive rights, democracy. There were a few attack ads, but there weren't a lot of them. A lot of ads had empathetic appeals and testimonials that related to personal stories and values, and certainly ads that focused on economic and social issues like healthcare, economic inequality, drug costs, tax cuts. And you can see the contrast in Donald Trump's ads, where a lot of the focus is on patriotism, saving America. There were also a lot of attack ads like "Stop Kamala's Crime Epidemic," "Mocking Kamala's Laugh," and so on. There were a lot of videos about some form of cultural and national grievance, implying that America was under threat and China and Iran want to see Trump defeated. The freedoms are being taken away. The countries under attack from within. There were economic issues, often focusing on taxes and fears of future hardships under Democratic leadership. You'll also see throughout these ads that there was a lot of fear-inducing language, like "It's an invasion of America," "Don't let them take control," and so on. So you can see a very stark contrast between both candidates' approach here. Now let's look at what they could have done better. With Kamala, the primary recommendation would be to diversify the CTAs. Nearly all ads ask for money. Considering she had 5x the advertising budget of her opponent, this feels somewhat unexplained. While political donations are essential, she could do a better job of explaining why those donations are needed and also include calls to action that invite supporters to engage in other ways that appear less transactional. Next, she could have focused more on policy achievements and future plans. There are ads that touch on policies and focus on threats to rights and freedoms, but there isn't a lot of specificity in a lot of these ads, and a lot of high information voters looking for concrete reasons to support her wouldn't find a lot of this evidence in her ads. So I think that was an area of opportunity. Next, you also see that a lot of her ads feel very corporate, very polished, and not very authentic and organic and native, and really integrating more UGC style visuals with everyday supporters or testimonials would make the campaign much more relatable. Something else she could have done was to use many more attack ads, which she didn't focus a lot on. And lastly, she could have had much clearer overlay text. You can see here the contrast between one that Kamala had and one that Trump did. You can see the contrast in the overlay text in terms of how emphatic the Trump ad seems to be as compared to how Kamala were. And again, this is a very simple, easy to fix thing, which I'm surprised that she couldn't fix even with 5x the budget. In terms of recommendations for Donald Trump, dial down the fear. I suspect the fear-based messaging actually worked well for a lot of his voters, but it could have been at the expense of swing or moderate voters who rely on a lot of information and less on emotion. Something else he could have done was highlight policy achievements from his previous presidency. A few wins could lend a lot of credibility to the rhetoric. There weren't a lot of personal stories or voter testimonials, and that was another missed opportunity that could have given the campaign a more human and emotional layer. Something else they could have done was to have much more creative variety. We can see a lot of the ads look aesthetically very similar, stylistically very similar, and greater visual variation could have improved ad fatigue and improved performance. In summary, this wasn't just a tale of two candidates. Was a tale of two very, very different marketing strategies. Kamala invested on fundraising, follow-through, and optimism. Donald Trump spent much leaner but focused on action, urgency, and turnout. And both of these approaches revealed deep insights into how each campaign viewed its voters at the time and what they believed moved them to act. And this was performance marketing at national scale. And we all know how this campaign turned out. This is Shaman Rao. Thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out Intelligent Artifice. If you like this breakdown, please share and subscribe. And for the full visual teardown and the ad library, check the link in the description. See you next time.